listening to Sports Radio Detroit.
Welcome to Grave Discussions. I am your host, Barnabas.
And I am your co-host, Samael. Welcome to episode 67. You are my buddy.
And I don't know the rest of the song lyrics.
More than a friend. You're my best buddy until the end.
Okay. So, that's the theme song from the new Child's Play movie that came out this year by Lars Klevberg, and we're going to be talking about it in today's episode, giving you our review as spoiler-free as possible, because we know that some of you guys haven't seen it yet, but it was something.
It was.
And we're going to dive into it more a little bit later on, but first, as always, we got to give a quick shout-out to our host network, Sports Radio Detroit.
Yes, a gracious host, and you can find them on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Just look up Sports Radio Detroit, SRD. That is Sports Radio Detroit, not Detroit Sports Radio.
That's right, the one and only. So, guys, before we dive into the rest of our show, we just have a quick sponsored break, so stay tuned. Here at Grave Discussions, we know that addiction can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Let the Detox Helpline help you break your addiction to drugs and alcohol. Call the addiction specialist now at the Detox and Treatment Helpline 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
They're always available for you, and if you have private insurance, they specialize in finding you the right treatment. Give them a call at 1-800-213-9257. That is 800-213-9257.
All right, Sam, so a lot of developments in the world of horror, as always, over this past week. Getting a lot of announcements and a lot of TV show announcements this week.
Oh, I'm excited. So, apparently, American Horror Story's new slasher season is going to be called 1984, and it has a September release date.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we've kind of known about this for a little while now. American Horror Story is promising a nostalgia-filled, I'm sure, classic kind of 80s slasher season. As we know, they usually go a different route pretty much every season, which is cool. It's kind of like that anthology format.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really curious to see what's going to happen in this one, because there's usually some kind of really like messed up twist in each season, or like something really fucking weird happens. So,
by the way, Evan Peters is not coming back, but we will have the smoking, flaming Emma Roberts.
She's on fire.
Yes.
So, as we know, she was one in like the witch one, so I'm not sure if it's going to have any relation, but
probably not.
Yeah, probably not. We'll see what happens, though. I'm interested in like who the killer is going to be.
Probably her, since she was the killer in Scream 4.
Yeah, it could be. She plays that role pretty well.
She does.
So, we'll see what happens, guys. Check out American Horror Story 1984 in September, actually the 18th, which is a Wednesday.
Also good news for us Amazon Prime members coming up.
Yeah, so Amazon has a brand new series coming out July 19th called Dark Web. Now, this is going to be an 8-episode series where each episode is going to follow some tale from the strange and dangerous dark web. So, it seems pretty cool. There's actually a synopsis here. So it says, a genius programmer's mysterious disappearance leads to the reunion of old friends and the discovery that the strange stories she left behind may point to an impending technological crisis.
Uh-oh, the dangers of the web again, as if we already didn't have that shoved down our throats about technology and the dark web. I mean, we had Unfriended Dark Web, and now the new Child's Play movie with the dangers of technology, so...
Yeah, it's just a theme. I mean, it makes sense, you know? I mean, advances in robot technology and AI and everything like that have certain people on edge, I'm sure, but...
I mean, people should have learned that a while ago with Terminator and Chopping Mall. Hint.
Oh yeah.
Hint.
Yeah. It never goes away though, really. So I'm not like super surprised to see it, but we did just see Unfriended Dark Web and like Searching. So I wonder what like new stuff they can instill in this series. Hopefully some good new stuff. But the show is apparently coming from the creative team behind the Netflix movie Circle, which is pretty interesting. I haven't watched it, but it was something of like a Saw type thing where a bunch of people got trapped and
Oh, I watched it. I think it was like a bunch of people in a circle, and then at the end, I think everyone dies anyway. Like, it's not meant for anyone to survive. It's just like, hey, you were the last person alive. Congrats. Now you're dead. Like,
wow. So it was like a lesson kind of a thing, I'm pretty sure.
not even. It's more just fucking just hopelessness. Like
Seems kind of weird.
technology is hopeless. Like, even though we've had advancements in medicine and stuff like that, but internet bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on here, guys. That one's coming out July 19th. And then finally, Netflix again. What's going on this time?
So there was this show called Chambers with Uma Thurman, and after just one season, they already pulled the plug. I mean, it wasn't like, bringing in viewers, I guess. So like, they're like, what's the point of continuing to fund this for like a second season? And I mean, they've been doing that lately. I mean, look at Lucifer. Lucifer's only having one more season, then it's gonna be buried.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because unless it's Stranger Things or something that is extremely popular for them, they seem not to really have any faith in anything. And it's weird because they just push so much product out. I mean, that's got to have something to do with it too, I think, right? Like I'm constantly overwhelmed by all the shit that Netflix, Shudder, Amazon Prime, all of them put out, right?
Yeah.
It's not really that surprising that not as many people are watching certain things, especially when Netflix doesn't even push it all that much. Like I saw some advertising for Chambers because, we talked about it. We follow it all the time and stuff. But I didn't really see that much otherwise.
No, there wasn't really much marketing for it at all.
Yeah. And it probably got overshadowed by some other movie or show that came out at the same time. They just put too much stuff out there. They don't really give certain things a chance. Even though this show was apparently pretty good and Uma Thurman is a big star, like
I don't know.
something sketchy's going on over at Netflix. Like, I don't know.
It just seems like if they want to like punish the show maker for like it not being successful, it's like, bro, we need you to push it. Look how hard they were pushing The Silence when it came out, and that movie was shit.
Yeah, it really was not that good. Yeah, that thing had a huge marketing push behind it. Stuff like this, probably just because it's psychological in nature or whatever, or more like fringe. They just don't really, give it a shot. I don't know.
I think it's because of like the target audience, and there's not a lot of people that appreciate like experimental and psychological stuff. They need everything really spelled out for them. Like they can't look at things and be like, oh, this is symbolism. They're speaking in similes or metaphors or whatever the fuck. And
it just seems like if a show doesn't reach those like Stranger Things levels right away, they just fucking give up on it. But
even though they have like hundreds of really bad stand-up comedians, like like terrible. I've tried to watch them and I was not laughing. They're just so like pop friendly comedians, and they're just like not funny. Like they don't talk about anything really controversial or no shock humor. They're just like friendly comedian, like that dude from fucking the first episode of The Twilight Zone. That's what all those comedians on Netflix
Kumail,
like,
whatever.
Yeah, like how he's portrayed on the show, not like his real stand-up, but like I don't know, Netflix is like just putting out crap and then keeping like the hour-long comedy specials and just pushing out the horror when, I mean, let's be real, like most people like don't buy Netflix to watch the fucking friendly comedy movies. Like a lot of people that I even talk to, they're like, yeah, I like scary movies, so I got Netflix and Hulu, so I got a big selection, and like I've seen people complaining in the online groups about not enough horror on Netflix, and now they're starting to pull horror off Netflix. Like,
yeah, dude, you know how many like super low budget like Bollywood horror movies and shit like that they have on there? It's ridiculous,
and they're bad too. Like,
oh yeah,
just tried giving them a chance, and it's like not because it's Bollywood, it's bad, but like horrible acting, horrible premise, stupid plot, and it's just, I don't know, man. It's just, we don't need all this shit. Just give us like quality stuff and like give things a chance, I want to say, especially with something with like Uma Thurman in it. Like, are you fucking crazy to pull that after one season? What if I just really got into it? I'm one of the people that's like, holy fuck, I love this shit. And there's definitely a few more out there, and then now it's like, all right, bye.
Yeah, dude, I'm still willing to give it a shot. If you guys are out there that really like this show, then hey, do a petition. Maybe another network will pick it up or something like that, just like Netflix did with Lucifer. So, hey, it could happen. So, we're going to move on now, Fright fans, to our first official segment of the episode, where we examine a cult classic horror film. And we've got a pretty cool one this week in The Cult Corner. And in this week's Cult Corner Fiends, we have Chopping Mall. So this 80s cult classic is probably one of the more, bad ones, I guess I would say.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay. I mean, it's not like bad. Some of like the acting is like pretty decent actually. The effects are admittedly not that great, but
I mean, what do you expect with a $800,000 budget,
Yeah, it was super low budget. It was like a Roger Corman production. Most of his stuff is very like campy and intentionally kind of bad, like Trauma almost,
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, it definitely had that like niche audience though. I guess that's, I would say, the main reason why it was a cult classic, but it was a pretty fun little movie.
It starts off, they're like at this like this like town meeting looking thing at the mall. It looks like an auction. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. But they're showing off their new security robo guards, and they're like, show me your identification. And it's like, here you go. It's like, proceed, and then like, if you're an intruder, like they showed like a video of a intruder just getting tased half to death, just getting fucking worked. You know what I'm saying? So like,
no, he really was. He got messed up. And they're called the Protector Robots. Fun fact, apparently voiced by the director of this movie, Jim Wynorski. So that's pretty cool, I guess. He was pulling like double duty sort of.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Protector Robots one night just kind of go haywire during a thunderstorm. Convenient. Does it sound familiar to you?
Maybe.
So the antenna gets zapped and the robots go crazy and they don't have any of their like actual safety protocols, and then you just start like killing people. That including that poor lab tech. He was just trying to eat his donut and shit, and they just they like snatch his throat out or something.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah. So then they just kind of go on a rampage, and these teenagers,
of course,
has
to be the youth. The youth are our future. They will save us.
Oh God.
The youth will save us from killer robo guards.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that anymore, because like, look at where we are and look at where the youth from the 80s are now.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a whole other thing.
Became like alcoholics and junkies and
or shitty politicians, etc., etc. You can
you
can talk about it all day long, but
the list goes on, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly. But that's reality, and this is a horror movie, and we watch them to kind of escape reality. And this
careful, you gotta say this is a quote unquote horror movie.
Quote unquote horror movie. It's a comedy horror. Comedy sci-fi horror.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
If you want to get technical with it. But yeah, it's very goofy. I don't know if it's like actually that funny, but
No, it's like light spirited though, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like Madman, like a mean spirited fucking everyone fucking dies like fucking horror movie. This one was like, hey, here's some 80s teenagers. They're fucking around in the mall, but a lot of them get worked.
Of course,
worked.
Of course, the virgins have to survive.
Of course, because someone with no experience, that just fucking overshadows anyone who's been through some shit. The guy who's been through some shit and has seen things in life, he has less of a chance in living than someone who's never experienced any sort of like, controversy in his life or her life.
Yeah, I don't know, dude.
Logic.
It's always been a thing though, because hey, they were there, they were breaking. Well, I don't know if they're like breaking the law, but they were
loitering.
Yeah, they were in their store after closing hours, and that's where they fucked up because they didn't know about those giant steel shutters or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, they stuck around like after they weren't supposed to be there, and they were having sex and making out and stuff, except for the virgins, of course. But it was sinful, and hey, look, they all died. but it was to killer AI robots. So, I mean, what did you think about the actual robots?
I thought the robots like weren't really scary. They're just like these goofy like garbage can looking things, and it's just like
have a nice day.
not really what you'd expect from like not really what you'd expect an actual robot to like look like or be like or I don't know. I felt like it was just a little too silly to be like, oh, it can just happen, like it was more like, yo, this is not gonna happen, especially in like 1986. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was obviously intended to be pretty goofy, but I was reading like one bit of trivia, and it kind of said like they actually tried to make them look more like realistic robots. So they used like wheelchair frames and real like shit, just random stuff like that to construct them. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, they really looked way out there. Like if I was trying to build a futuristic robot, but my favorite Pokemon's like Porygon, and it just kind of ended up looking like Porygon with laser eyes. So I don't know, man. It was kind of weird.
The score wasn't bad.
The score was okay. It kind of had that same upbeat sort of lighthearted thing to it, but it was really more just about the fun. They were taking pot shots at like a gas canister to blow up a robot, shit like that. That's why you watch this movie. So
man, didn't really have any really good like social messages either. It was just like, hey, killer robots, good luck.
Yeah.
It's simple, it wasn't preachy. It was just quote unquote fun. I use that term loosely.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely understand why it has the reputation it has, although initially it wasn't received really that well at all. I'm not surprised.
I can't imagine why.
It was released as Killbots, and then I think they made some edits to it, and it finally got released as Chopping Mall. And, I think this movie actually does really kind of demonstrate how opinions about horror in general and about specific movies can change over time, because now people love this movie, right?
Oh yeah,
everyone wants
classic.
The Blu-ray and everything, and
unfortunately I have it.
Yeah. And then I look at, a movie like this next one that we're going to be talking about, and it actually kind of relates because a lot of people are kind of hating on it right now. A lot of people aren't, but there's still a large percentage, I would say, of the horror community that is hating on it. And I feel like over time, it's going to get a little bit of a warmer reception. And I think that's what happened with Chopping Mall.
Yeah, I think so too.
Just because like people can look back at it and treat it as that just kind of fun horror movie. And it gets away with it because it's from the 80s. This era is a little bit different, but we're going to talk about that. Do you have anything else you want to say about Chopping Mall?
No, it was what it was. Even for its time, it was kind of like meh. It wasn't a really fun comedy, but it was just like a really like zany, kind of wild. And at some points, it was like the gore was like meh, but like the characters were like too serious sometimes for what the movie was. I felt like it could have been a little bit more lighthearted. I don't know.
Yeah, I wish that the one guy, was his name Mike? I wish that he didn't die because he was like the funniest one. He was kind of stupid, like an asshole, but he was the funniest one.
Yeah, we ended up losing him, but fuck it. At least the movie wasn't too long.
No, that is true. Yeah, it was a pretty short movie. So, guys, if you haven't watched Chopping Mall before, it's worth a shot. The deaths are like okay, but it's just kind of got that goofy kind of fun tone to it. Now, this next movie that we're going to talk about kind of blends that with some pretty serious techno thriller vibes, and we're going to be talking about the new Child's Play right after these short sponsored messages.
Hi, this is Chris.
And this is Roger.
And if you like Tigers baseball, Major League Baseball, Minor League Baseball, analytics, pop culture references, movies, sports, food, check us out. Look for Tigers SRD on iTunes, Google Play, or Spotify.
Hey, Samael.
Hey, Barnabas, what's up?
Oh, not much. Have you ever written a book?
No, but I've written a musical.
Oh, Well, you can become a published author with Dorrance Publishing, the nation's oldest publishing services company.
Aha, I hear countless authors have trusted Dorrance for nearly 100 years to bring their books to the market.
Their professional team will edit your text, design your book pages, and create an appealing, eye-catching custom cover. Plus, their authors benefit from a custom book promotion marketing campaign that makes your book available where people buy books.
So, make this free call right now to claim your free author's guide to publishing. Do not wait another day. Take one step closer to realizing your dream of becoming a published author.
And seeing your name in print.
Aha! You've already written a book. Next thing to do is make this free call now to Dorrance Publishing and get your free guide to publishing. Call right now.
The number is 1-800-213-9259. Again, 1-800-213-9259. Welcome back, boils and ghouls. This time, we're going to be discussing the new Child's Play reimagining this week. We went and saw it opening weekend, and we're going to try to give as few like actual spoilers as possible. Nothing, really that major, hopefully at all. But yeah, this promised to be kind of a new iteration of Chucky. And I don't know, do you think that we got that?
Yeah. It was, like you said, I like you that you used reimagining and not a remake, because it was not a remake.
Yeah, no.
They turned Chucky into something completely different, which is a malfunctioning killer robot doll.
Yeah, from Vietnam, no less.
Yes, from Vietnam. What are the odds?
Yeah. So right at the beginning, you pretty much get the origin story, and this is kind of the thing that jumpstarts everything, but is maybe one of the elements that I'm not so fond of. Our friend, the caretaker, was with us, and pretty much right after the movie, he kind of voiced his opinion that kind of what happens at the beginning, Chucky's whole origin in this, canon, is a little underwhelming.
I think so, because in the first one, it was like, hey, this fucking serial killer who's strangling people and cutting their throats, they had him, and then he just kind of died in the midst of some dolls, or so we thought. In reality, he transferred his soul to an inanimate object. I mean, in reality, he could have... Does it really have to be like a doll that has to have armor? He could have transferred his soul into his gun and just been like, I am a gun, and I was just shooting people.
Oh, man.
That would have not been as well received.
How would he have... I don't think so.
They're like,
this is why we don't let you write movies.
They pick up the gun from the crime scene. They're like, all right, we're taking this to evidence. Bang! No, you're not. Like,
that's kind of the plot behind one of the new Twilight Zone episodes. If you guys haven't seen it, actually.
It's not even.
Well, it's not the same thing, but there's a gun involved. Anyway, no, that would have been
wild. Yeah.
That would have been dumb.
That is dumb. But
anyway,
in this one, I'm not gonna give it away, but basically, there's a malfunction with Chucky. And he's like, quote unquote, different. They kept pointing that out in the movie. They're like, what's wrong with him? There's nothing wrong with him. He's just different. And then, like, at so many points, Andy tells Chucky, look, I know you're different. So there was this focus on like being the outlier in like a group that has like certain expectations, I guess.
Yeah.
And like Chucky was supposed to be that outlier, even though like his name, he didn't even like, it was his idea to be called Chucky. I think that was like the
throwback almost.
Yeah, it's like a throwback, because like, I'm going to spoil this part because it's not really important. Andy wanted to call him Han Solo.
Okay.
And then the doll was like, did you say Chucky?
Yeah.
I like that name. It's like, not even close. That's not what I said. Like, he's like, okay, I'm Chucky. And I think that was like the shout out to like,
that's fair.
The only thing that's really the same in this one is that Chucky's a killer doll, and then Andy Barkley and his mom.
So, I mean, I guess one criticism that some people might have, I'm still not sure exactly where I sit with it, is that, this movie is only getting so misconstrued and poorly received by some people because it's Child's Play and it's Chucky. Like, if it had no connection to the franchise, if it wasn't Chucky, then it would be a better movie, that it would be better received. I mean, I don't know
that's not even fair.
Exactly about that. Yeah, I know, because there have been so many remakes and adaptations and reimagining, et cetera, that have done something completely different or a little bit different. And you know what? If it works, it works. You know, you don't have to be so just attached by the anus to a certain character or franchise that you're not willing to give something new a chance. You know, I didn't mind that this was called Chucky, actually, or Child's Play.
I didn't care. I mean, look at the same fucking idiots that are like, it sucked, and then they're like, but Rob Zombie's Halloween was a masterpiece. It's like, all right, that movie was garbage, whatever you say.
Well, comparisons or not, I mean, it just, usually what I see is some mention of the original film, and it's like, I get why the comparison is there, but I don't really feel like, at least with this movie, it's completely fair to judge it solely on that, because, yeah, like we've mentioned, this movie is quite different than that movie. And I mean, the original Child's Play, like I think I've said before, really was kind of a product of the time, because that's when you had those kind of dolls. You know, technology was beginning to advance at a very rapid rate. So, I mean, I don't know why the fuck they put voodoo into it, but regardless,
Yeah.
you know, as a kid, you might possibly be afraid that your dolls were going to wake up and try to kill you or whatever. You know, that was the fear. Now
It's technology, yeah.
Now it's technology, it's AI, it's so relevant to society, it's everywhere, that it makes complete sense. And I think that is really why it's called Child's Play.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, if voodoo and dolls coming to life, not that kids buy dolls nowadays, was still relevant to society, that's what they would have did still.
Mhm.
But like everyone, like you said, has these problems with AI becoming sentient, turning on us, having like a Y2K kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
That's what people worry about nowadays, is like the dangers of technology. And that's why, like, especially with like smartphones and smart TVs, and Chucky could incorporate himself into all those things in this new one.
That was clever as fuck,
Yeah.
honestly. Because you know what? We really didn't ever really see that too much in the killer doll kind of subgenre, which, I mean, we've alluded to. We saw something like Tao.
Yeah.
That was kind of like this in the sense that, you know, but it was more futuristic, but it revolved around how technology could go wrong, how all this smart stuff might actually be kind of bad for you.
Yeah.
You know? And this movie, I think, plays on that actually really well. And it's helped by the pacing being great,
Oh, yeah.
I thought.
I thought the movie was paced well. Like right at the beginning, we get an explanation as to why Chucky is about to be the way that he's about to be. And then we go into like the explanation of who Andy is, and he's this new kid that moved to the town. Thing I kind of liked about this movie too is like Andy's quite a bit older than he was in the original. So he's not like, Mom, why is Chucky me? He was like, yo, this fucking doll's fucking creepy, yo.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it was like a more realistic and modern day, because like kids in the 80s were all like slow talking, naive little shits.
Yeah.
And kids nowadays, like, they already know how to use a fucking smartphone by the time they're 10.
Oh,
So, like, they're quick-witted too, and like
Mhm.
they pick up on literally everything. Like, I mean, come on, we're smarter nowadays, so like it makes sense. This seemed like one of those coming of age movies, because like the story really focused on, I kind of didn't like this part, on Andy and his friends.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there was like this felt like it was on a bigger scale too, because like the ending, and you know, and when they're in the department store and all that shit goes down.
Yeah. No, I get you. I mean, like you were saying before about Chucky, like there being an emphasis on him being special in this movie. I think it's also because we just get more of like the doll, not just him, but just in general, like the Buddy doll. Like we see the stuff on the TV and we see them in the stores and everything like that. So in the original, that wasn't really the case so much. We really kind of like just saw Chucky, you know, so it wasn't like we were seeing all the other like good guy dolls quite so much or anything like that. So they really had to just like make that distinction. But also I think it does relate to Andy's character, who's also, I mean, I wouldn't say he's special or anything like that, but he's the main character. He's kind of like an outcast as well. He just moved. See, that's the other thing, like the whole like, oh, we just moved to this place and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing. I don't know about that quite so much. I think it's just like way too convenient of a way to like jumpstart a story, but whatever. But it kind of introduced Andy as like the outcast kid with no friends, and that is why he kind of bonded with Chucky at first,
Yeah.
you know, which happens in the original movie. So it kind of follows that same similar kind of structure.
up until I want to say like 3/4 of the movie, Chucky had like no ill intent toward Andy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even near the end, he like
Yeah.
just was like doing all of that so like, it could just be him and Andy and no one be in their way.
Yeah. So, I mean, the development between Chucky and Andy in this movie was considerably different. But I mean, it makes sense since he was a robot AI.
The thing with this movie though, it kind of makes you side with Chucky. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like kind of like empathy for him. Yeah, I did.
I suppose so. I think it's really just because we don't already know that he's this like psychopathic voodoo serial killer.
Yeah.
And, some people are definitely going to find that a little difficult to accept because the original Chucky is really technically a person. He has that personality. This one, although Mark Hamill does an amazing job, as I knew he would, but as like a robot, there's still only so much that you can like give to the character, or like there's a limit to how much personality he can have. So that's where it kind of runs into that. But again, knowing that it was like a robot doll, I was okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, I was fine with that. Like, it doesn't have to be the soul of some dude in like a thing. I mean, look, I don't care if you believe in all that shit. Okay, if voodoo and all that shit's not real, all right, let's be adults here. Let's grow the fuck up. You're not gonna transfer your spirit as you're dying into a toaster, much less a fucking doll, all right?
Yeah.
That shit's not gonna happen. This was more rooted in reality, but I'll be fair, I still like the original one a bit better.
Yeah, that's fair.
This one had its like humorous moments, this one was like kind of lighthearted until the killing started, really.
Yeah, I think so. And it didn't take too long to get into that, which was nice. And there were some tense moments in between.
You kind of slowly see like that they're pushing Chucky in the direction of becoming a killer.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just slowly like,
yeah.
You got the hit at the beginning that was going to happen, with what happened at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the stuff that happened, like as the doll's being, fixed up. And like, you're like, all right, this definitely has the potential to go, 180 and fucking fuck shit up.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a slippery slope and it just keeps getting worse and worse. And then the upgrade and then, oof.
I liked the incremental kind of creepiness to Chucky as the movie went on. I like how more violent it got, and until the climax, then it was, oof. I won't say anything else about that. That was definitely, I think, the best part of the movie was that last kind of, segment for sure. But everything before it was pretty good too. Acting, solid. Soundtrack, actually quite good, especially at the beginning and the end. Whatever that one like main theme was, that was great.
Yeah.
At least, I thought so. So, and cinematography, visually, this movie was pretty awesome too, I thought.
It really was, yeah. I mean, my only qualms with like the movie were like really minor things. Like, I don't want to mention it because it would be a spoiler, but like we could talk about it after the show. But there are just like a few things that's like at the end of the, like, how'd the dog get up in the billboard? You know what I mean? Like,
okay, yeah, it's not really important at all, but you guys will see. Yeah, that was kind of weird.
I was like, yo, what? Did you climb? Okay, I don't even want, unless the dog learned how to climb a fucking ladder.
Oh, man. Yeah, it was really just kind of nitpicky things. As we kind of learned leading up to this movie, there was going to be some mixture of practical effects and CGI with the doll. Honestly, not as much CGI as you might have thought.
There was like 2 CGI moments that I remember. One where Chucky's leaping at the end. He's like, "Blah!" And then I'm doing with my hands so they can't see when this thing happens. That was CGI because you could see like the weird expression in his face. Let me say this: the animatronics in the original Child's Play were much better. Like, because this one seemed like it was like, I get it's supposed to be like AI, but it seemed like even the movements and the talking were like way too like
smooth.
Like they weren't smooth.
Oh.
In the old one, they were much smoother. Because there's no CGI in the 80s Chucky. It's all animatronics, and that one was way better. Like, you stupid bitch, you filthy slut.
Oh, yeah, that part.
Did you fuck with me?
Not when he was running around on the ground and shit, though.
No, they would just show like a...
No, it was like the...
Yeah, they would like... You'd see under a table like a smaller actor's legs like running. It was probably a kid that they had like... Like the moments where like he's moving, I like the original like a lot better.
That's fair, yeah. It's because in this movie there were some wider shots taken because they had the ability to make it seem kind of, I don't know. I guess it wasn't really that much smoother looking, but still, like there weren't quite as many close-up shots just because with the newer technology, it wouldn't look quite so stupid. And the original it would look dumb as hell if they had wide shots on Chucky because it would have been so fucking obvious.
Yeah, you'd see like the stuff behind him and like the.
Yeah. But no, I would agree with that. In general, though, when it was close up on it in this movie, I liked it. There were some elements of the face that I thought may have been CGI. I wasn't quite sure.
When his eyes were moving a lot,
I feel like his mouth sometimes too. Like I wasn't sure if that was just
when he was like
Yeah, but so those are just some very nitpicky things. Honestly, overall, I thought it was fine. The story was perfectly acceptable in my opinion. Narratively, it was structured how I would imagine a good narrative be structured. It wasn't like the most innovative thing ever, but it was good. Again, acting solid. Everything, honestly, pretty much solid. And as a slasher, I think it did well.
I think it did too. The kills were fucking sick.
Yeah, they were.
The leg scene was fucking disgusting.
Oh yeah.
When I went with Mugum yesterday, he literally cringed in his seat when that happened.
That was great.
I don't know, man. To me, it was like a solid 9 out of 10. Like fun movie for me. It was fun. If you watch this and don't have fun, you're just an old man who doesn't get any. That's what I can explain it as.
Oh man,
and that's the most people I see complaining on Facebook. It looks like incel old men.
Oh man, listen. I mean, I can understand some of the criticism behind this movie for sure. And if you don't like this movie, hey, that's your opinion. And I won't say that you're right or wrong. I mean, it's completely subjective, really. But objectively speaking, I would say that this was a totally serviceable horror film, despite the fact that it's, connected to Child's Play. I don't really think that hindered it at all, and I kind of do hope we see a sequel, honestly.
I do too. It would be fun to see like this reiteration of Chucky, besides like, because the old one kind of got outlandish with the cult, so
yeah, possibly, but we saw something maybe a little similar, so
yeah.
But yeah, guys, I mean that's what we think about the new Child's Play. If you have not seen it, I definitely recommend that you go check it out. Even if you're a hardcore fan of the original franchise, which, hey, I am too, hey, open up your mind, go check it out, and let us know what you think. But we're going to move into our very last segment here, where we're going to look at a movie that's actually quite a bit different than what we've talked about so far. And we're going to do so on The Chopping Block. And on this week's Chopping Block, Fiends, we have, like I mentioned, quite a bit different than Chopping Mall and Child's Play. We have a new edition on Shudder, Hagazussa.
It translates, from like older German to like witch.
Yeah, so this movie has been compared a lot to the Vivitch.
The Vivitch?
The Vivitch. And I guess rightly so. It's the most easy and direct comparison, I suppose. So, but I would say quite different than The Witch in a lot of aspects.
Different.
A lot of aspects, yeah. So, first of all, the movie very loosely has the witch theme, which I'm just going to say witch a lot at this point. I'm going to get confused. Which the Vivitch, I would say kind of pushed more directly in our faces. But yeah, this one follows a young girl who lost her mother to something. We're not going to spoil really what happens, but it was some weird, crazy shit. And she's growing up, and people look at her as an outcast. So there's that theme again.
Yep.
And treat her as a witch. And this is set in like the 15th century Alps or something. It's the movie itself is like in Austrian, I believe. So it's an Austrian production by director Lucas Fagelfeld. And so it's a foreign movie, but back then people really kind of didn't know how to regard people who weren't like inclusive in their community.
Yeah, they get blamed for like witchcraft and stuff like that. And it's like, maybe I don't like you fuckers.
Yeah. So, I mean, this movie kind of, revolves around that theme a lot. That's all I'll really kind of say about it, because saying anything else would kind of give away sort of what happens. But yeah, I mean, it follows this woman.
Yeah, and she has, spoiler alert, a child. It's not explained where the child came from,
Mm-hmm.
where the father is, and she has this weird fascination with her billy goats that she keeps near her house, and she
Yeah.
likes to cuddle with them and pet them while she masturbates.
Yeah. So, it's a very odd character, very odd kind of movie.
Very experimental horror movie. It's one of
Mhm.
those like surreal, like really
Yeah.
like Mother or like Antichrist, those type of movies, experimental. What do you want to call them? Avant-garde or whatever.
Yeah, I guess so.
We're getting a lot of those movies lately because like I feel like with the ambiance of these movies, you know what I mean, and
Mhm.
like the score and like the
Yeah.
like like a lot of like the slow motion scenes tend to like make your heart pound a little faster because you're like, yo, it's giving me anxiety.
Yeah, it definitely had that tone to it for sure. Especially because one of like the defining features of this movie was just the slowness and like that really creeping dread, but it was even more egregious than like the Vivitch,
Yeah.
which, if you thought that movie was slow, man, Hagazussa is like 3 snails worth,
Oh yeah.
of that like slowness. I don't know how else to explain it. It's really, I wouldn't say it like drags, but like the editing and the actual shots, the actual cinematography is just so deliberate. It kind of makes you like, it's like contemplative. Like it's meant to last for so long. Like each shot lasts so long because I think it just wants you to
Fast forward. No.
well, yeah, but it just really wants to drill that like moment into you.
Oh yeah, and
It's very weird.
it worked. Like a lot of the scenes stuck with me, especially like the barbecue scene.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
And like nothing else really, and like the water scene, because
Yeah.
that one dragged on quite a bit after like it even happened.
Yeah. I don't know. There were a lot of moments in this movie that, like in a lot of movies that have a similar vibe to this, there's this like big crazy lead up to these very specific moments that sort of end up like driving the rest of the movie. And this definitely did that because, like I said, some like glacial pacing with a lot of these shots and just kind of what happened. And what this movie kind of excelled at, though, is that a lot of it was kind of hidden off screen. Like a lot of the shit that happens, you don't really quite see as much.
Yeah, it leaves it up
Which
to
was
your
interesting.
imagination.
Yeah, and there's really like no explanation. There's actually very little dialogue in this movie at all.
Exactly.
So
It's more moody than
yeah,
anything.
what's really driving the movie is really just that atmosphere, because like time passes, you don't know what the fuck's happened.
And the speculation too is
Mm.
kind of what drives it. Like the whole time you're like, what the fuck is going on? Like what's this whole, I see the little details, but what's the bigger picture?
Right.
Like that's what this movie like keeps asking you. Like,
Mm.
what do you think the bigger picture is with every scene? Like, is this witchcraft? Is this mental illness? And I think it's the latter.
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of had to not only think about it after I was finished watching it, but then I like went and read a synopsis on on Wikipedia, and then I kind of was thinking about it a little more. I was taking all the details, and I was kind of like, oh, okay, so this is probably what it means. So I think I kind of understand the movie quite a bit better now, but there was also a quote from the director, and I'm not going to really read it too much just to not really give away anything or anything like that, but he really wanted to incorporate these old pagan beliefs and folklore about witches, and which a lot of this stuff originated out of these kinds of regions, these like
especially-
mountain villages and stuff.
Really, all that witchcraft and all that shit started in like Ireland. Those motherfuckers are like the Gaelic people, bro. They're like the originators of that like black magic shit. Like factually, like
Yeah,
all this shit started in Ireland.
yeah, dude.
As like said in Volumes of Blood. Lass, I'm Irish. We invented this shite.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I love that kind of stuff. I think
do
it's
too.
really fascinating. But, Fagelsfeld was kind of incorporating that sort of stuff with more modern perceptions of mental illness, yes.
And
But-
like seclusion and
Yeah, it's these social things.
yeah.
So, which, I mean, hey, is really directly related to folklore anyway, but some people decide to take them and just go completely supernatural with it or completely narrative. And I mean, this one was completely narrative, but it was definitely meant to be more metaphorical
Oh yeah.
and more kind of like introspective. Like, hey, what do you think this means? I'm not going to tell you, but
Especially the apple.
oh yeah,
That was biblical.
probably.
The whole Garden of Eden thing.
There's always some kind of
Biblical
Religi-
allegory.
religious thing too in these kind of movies, yeah. But I mean, I would say it was, I don't know, man, it was really interesting. Like, there's a part of me that wants to kind of put it down just for, I don't know, like the long shots and everything really reminded me of a lot of these like fucking mid 20th century like French New Wave movies and stuff like that. It was just kind of boundless. Like, hey, I'm just going to show you this image on the screen for like, I don't know, 5 minutes and make of it what you will.
Yeah.
Because even like an hour and 15 minutes into this movie, I was like, all right, dude, like, what's kind of happening? What's going to happen? Like, what do I even have to like expect for these next like 10 minutes until the movie's over?
Yeah.
You know, just kind of how I felt. And I'm not quite sure yet if that's a good or a bad thing, but I think I want to recommend this movie just because it's got that really fucking creepy nature to it, you know?
The tone to it, like, it's mean-spirited too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everyone in the fucking movie's a dick besides, like, the main
Yeah.
character.
Well, even then, I would say, but yeah, I get you. It really just kind of plays on that morality and how people interact with each other. And it really kind of makes you just hate people.
It really
So
does.
yeah, it's, I mean, I don't know if I would say that it's existential or anything like that, but it can definitely be a little upsetting or depressing for sure.
Yeah, it was depressing for sure. I grabbed it as a blind buy from Amazon, and I finally watched it yesterday because, you know, you were like, hey, you know, let's talk about this. And I was like, all right, it's either this or that other one you suggested.
Yeah.
And this one seemed like more interesting because, like, you know, witchcraft and demons and stuff, you know, like
Mhm.
that stuff fascinates all of us because, like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, I guess some people secretly want it to be real. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Even though it's all just a whole bunch of hocus pocus. I mean, look at the Salem witch trials. How many people were killed for their property?
Mhm.
Really, what it was because, like, someone was jealous of their property. So, like, yo, if I get them killed, I can take their shit over. So,
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, all of that kind of factors in for sure. But, you know, I thought one definitely positive feature about this movie as well was just how it looked visually. It was stunning.
it was.
The natural landscape was phenomenal. And, you know, this was like his graduation project for like film school. So, I mean, that's incredible. So definitely a fantastic achievement, I think, for like his directorial debut.
Oh, yeah, amazing job.
I mean, it's this, I feel like this movie is going to be talked about, maybe not as much as The Witch was. I don't know if it's ever going to reach that level, but it's a strong, I think, contender to The Witch for like the modern witch movie.
I enjoyed both. I think if you're going to look up any, like, modern witch movies, like, both of these have to be, like, in your, like, you know, scope. So,
Okay. For sure. So, final verdict on the chopping block. What is it?
it's not chopped. I don't think for either of us it's chopped.
Yeah, I don't think
Just-
so.
Even for lack of dialogue and, like, lack of, like, explicitity, you know, like, explicitness,
Mhm.
like, letting us know what's actually, like, going on.
Mm.
It was kind of, like, just open to interpretation and focused more on, like, allegories and imagery than anything else, than having, like, this one set objective, like, viewpoint on what this movie's actually about.
Yeah, I will say this honestly. Even if you pick up your phone during this movie, you might still find yourself
In the
On the-
same scene.
on the same frame like 5 minutes later. However, this is definitely a movie that you should pay attention to really kind of get all the threads it's trying to kind of portray, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll just say that much. If you do watch it, you know, give it your full attention and just kind of soak it in, because I read one thing that said it's kind of more of an experience than it is like a horror film,
Yes.
you know. So I think that's really all there is to say about it.
Yes.
So, guys, let us know what you thought about all the movies that we talked about today. Comment on all of our social media. We have a Facebook and Instagram where you can find us by searching Grave Discussions. And we also have a Twitter. And on there, we are Gravedisc SRD. And finally, you can also check out our website, gravediscussions.net.
And tune in next week when me and Barnabas will have a sword fight to the death.
Yes, on
Grave Discussion. You are my buddy until the end. More than a buddy, you're my best friend.
This has been an SRD production.